So, coming from Yahoo, just in case you were starting to feel a little bit good about the economy, tech layoffs for 2026, over 148,000 jobs cut at Meta, LinkedIn, Wix, Groupon, and more. We're in the second quarter of the year and we're closing in on 150 layoffs across the tech industry. Here's what we know. So I kind of think this is an interesting story just to take a look at for a couple of minutes, just to show the total numbers of jobs that have been lost in the tech industry in the first two quarters of this year, and then compare that with how many jobs were lost in the tech industry for last year. And I don't think they talk about, but then there's also the year before and the year before and the year before. We've been cutting jobs for a long time. And so that's one thing to think about. Like when you look at the news, right, you hear about Oracle, jobs are being cut at Oracle. And what do you think? Whew, thank golly I don't work at Oracle. And you go, oh, jobs are being cut at Wix. And you go, whew, thank God I'm not Israeli. For so many reasons. Anyways. And then you see Meta is laying off people, and all these different companies are laying off people, and it's very easy to miss the forest for the trees. It's like, okay, well, I can explain why Meta got rid of employees. I can explain why Oracle got rid of employees. I don't have to worry because I can explain why all of these individual companies laid off employees. But one of the things I want you to really be thinking about is think about this from the macro standpoint, right? One of the very dumb arguments that came out a few years ago was the whole idea of the layoffs don't matter because if Twitter lays you off, you can go work for Meta. If Meta lays you off, you can go work for Amazon. If Amazon lays you off, you can go work for Microsoft. And one of the things I argued back then is that's fine until all the companies start right sizing together, right? I talked about this during the dot-com bust back in the day. I wound up in Seattle, right? I had my Army, I had my electronics training in the Army, I had my bachelor's degree, I had my MCSE, I had Cisco training, I had 100 hours of telephone systems training, right? I had experience, all of that. I still remember sitting in the recruiter's office in Seattle. She said, okay, explain all of this different stuff. So I explained all this different stuff. She was like, wow, a year ago, yeah, we were placing people like you for like $80, $85 per hour salary. And again, this was 25 years ago or whatever. I was like, oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. She's like, yeah, no, I have nothing for you. And I was like, look, I'm not greedy. I don't need $80 an hour salary. I'll take 60, 40. What do you got? And I still remember sitting there looking at her. She said, well, we have this position with the MTA, basically the bus service, with a tablet computer. And again, to be clear, this is like a 2001, 2002 tablet computer, right? Where you go on the buses and you survey people for $10 an hour, right? So a year ago, she'd been placing people like me for over $80 an hour. That point in time, after the dot-com bust, it was like, hey, do you want to get on a bus with a tablet computer? Oh, that was so fucking miserable. Anyways, and I think that's one of the things just to kind of be thinking about now with what is going on in the world of technology, right? One of the important things I tried to point out to you folks with Meta laying off people. So Meta just laid off 8,000 people. And so that is what it is. I think one of the more important aspects of that particular round of layoffs is that they closed 6,000 open positions. Right? So 8,000 people got laid off. That is what it is. Here's the thing. Meta had 6,000 open positions, basically 6,000 positions that they were interviewing for, whatever, in some process to hire people for, and 6,000 of those got closed. So it's not simply that 8,000 employees got laid off from Meta, it's that Meta eliminated 14,000 open positions. And that's one of the things to think about. Like when you hear about Google doing layoffs or Amazon doing layoffs, one of the things I want you to also track is not simply people being laid off, but how many open positions are also being closed. Because those open positions those would be the jobs that you would try to go for if you got laid off from a different company. And they're disappearing too. And I think this is the big, I've talked about this before with the dominoes, again, during the Great Recession, right? When Bear Stearns fell, I still remember not giving a crap. I was like, thank God I didn't work for Bear Stearns. Again, I know a lot of people in that world. I feel very bad for them. I'm not going to talk to them for about a year. Let all that shit work itself out. Sucks to be them. But hey, I'm doing fine because I do pewters. And then the dominoes fell in April the next year, 2009. That's when the domino basically squashed me. So I think that's going to be an important thing to think about going forward and be thinking about, like, with your career and what you should be focused on. What do you actually want to be doing? What is the real value proposition? And being honest about how you can pay the bills, right? As I talked about, I had a college degree, an MCSE, military experience, and I was delivering pizza. I was delivering pizzas living in the U District, right? In the student ghetto of the U District of Seattle, where I had to pay $500 a month for a room. Again, $500 a month 25 years ago, just for a room. We had 15 people in that house. Tell me how valuable you are. I'm sorry, yeah. Oh no, tell me again. Tell me one more time about how companies always need smart people. Anyhow, if we take a look at this, again, it just goes through a lot of the basic stuff you already know. We're now in a new month, but the number of tech layoffs in May was the second highest of the year. One reason is that Meta began the 8,000 job cuts it announced in April. Additionally, Intuit laid off around 3,000 workers. We also saw major cuts from Wix, Cisco, LinkedIn, and GM. While the cuts are moving quickly, California Governor Gavin Newsom recently signed an executive order to explore ways to protect workers affected by AI-related job losses. So far this year, there have been over 148,000 layoffs in tech. According to data from TrueUp, the layoffs seem to be moving at a faster rate than last year. Over 245,000 workers in tech were let go in 2025. In April, just under 12,000 employees were let go from their jobs, which included companies Disney, Amazon, and Snap. Mark saw the highest numbers with nearly 50,000 people affected. Several of the companies below have laid off employees due to increased spending in AI, blase. And you just go through and you look at, I mean, hell, companies you didn't even know exist. Did you even know Groupon existed? Yes, it does. And it just laid off 400 people. Wix, again, just laid off 1,000 people. Webflow is laying off people. ClickUp, Intuit, Meta, NPR, Amazon, Cisco, LinkedIn, GM, Cloudflare, PayPal, Coinbase, Microsoft, Nike, Amazon again. Let's see here, Snap, Disney, GoPro, 145 out of GoPro. Vimeo is laying off 120 people. Look at all of those layoffs. So yeah, there we go. They are just rolling in. And so my argument for you folks is you just got to be honest about reality. You got to be honest about reality. When you call the pizza place to ask them if they're hiring for delivery drivers, and they tell you, I crap you not, to bring your resume to the interview, do you know what you do? You smile and say, sure, no problem, I can definitely do that. Like, no, seriously, because I had paid, like, when I had gone through college and done other things, like to understand, like, pizza delivery, it was the type of job, like when I was at Bragg, I just decided to get some extra money. And so I went into a local pizza delivery place and said, hey, are you hiring drivers? They said, yes, can you be back at like 5 o'clock? I'm like, oh, is that to talk to somebody? They're like, no, to start delivering pizzas. Like that was pizza delivery in the rest of the country. I want you to understand what it's like in Seattle during that time period and call up the pizza place. And you're like, you know what? I will, quote unquote, I will just go back to delivering pizzas. And then they're like, yeah, can you bring your resume to the interview tomorrow? I'm like, I'm sorry, interview, resume? What are we, I was like, no, this isn't managed. I just deliver pizzas, right? Yes. We take pizza delivery seriously in Seattle. Anyways, so just kind of something to consider in the real world. Do remember with all this, tech cycles come and tech cycles go. As I talked about before, one of the reasons my father went in the government, ended up retiring from the government, he was an engineer. He ended up being a PhD engineer. And when he graduated in the 1970s, it was an engineer's recession. I know, things you never hear about, but are true. In the 1970s, the country had more than enough engineers. We didn't need any more engineers. He literally graduated with an engineering degree and nobody cared, right? Again, obviously things change. I had a buddy of mine when I was in the corporate world. He was a manager when I was running around doing tech support. I was making significantly more money than him, and he was about 10 years older than I was. And the funny part was, we started talking one day, and he had actually gotten his computer science degree in the 1980s. And I was like, if you got a computer science degree, what the hell are you doing, right? And he said, well, in the 1980s, you actually had to love doing computer science because you didn't make any money. He literally stopped programming because he had to do something that would pay the bills. He was like, Eli, I loved programming. But at the end of the day, you got to pay a mortgage. And programming in the 1980s wasn't paying the mortgage. Again, obviously we had the dot-com boom and bust. Obviously we had the Great Recession. The important thing for folks out there is just to understand this is a cycle. It sucks. But anyways, figure out where you want to place yourself 5 years from now, right? I think about that when I shut down my business. So when I had my business, I had my employees and all of that, everything was going to hell. And I looked at it, right? The Great Recession was going through and just ravaging everything. At the exact same time, netbooks and nettops were coming in. Software as a service was a big thing. AWS was a big thing. And one of the things that I looked at back then in 2009, it was like, look, I can bust my ass for the next 3 years and keep this business viable. I could, right? But one of my questions that I had is like, and then what does it look like in 2012? I kill myself. I work 12 hours a day for the next 3 years to get to the other side, 2012. And what does running a computer repair business, right, look like in 2012? And I was like, it probably looks pretty ugly. It probably looks pretty ugly. One thing led to another. That's where I started doing YouTube. And look, for a while, I was pretty cool on YouTube, I will have you know, right? But that's the kind of decisions that you kind of have to make. You have to, figure out when the disaster happens. You have to figure out, what your resources are. You have to figure out what position that you're actually in. You have to figure out what is in fact available, and you have to start tracking for 3 years from now. Right? This will be done in 3 years, right? When will the Strait of Hormuz open again? I don't know. Let's hope 3 years from now it'll be okay. Right? Because they talk about, like, with all this oil, like, there's a whole backup of disaster with the Strait of Hormuz and all of that. And one of the things they talk about is that even when the Strait of Hormuz opens again, it's going to be at least a year before transportation normalizes. And it could be longer. But here's the thing, 3 years from now, we should be to the next phase of whatever's going on. So that's one of the things to be thinking about, like with your career, is do you want to double down on what you're doing now and knuckle through only to come out the other side and basically have that be obsolete? Or do you want to start tracking, look, crap is gonna suck for the next 3 years. So how can you put yourself in a position so when things get better, you can actually take off in 3 years, right? And, in 2029, when things are a little bit different, how can you put yourself in a position to actually be able to take that opportunity? As I talk about, optimize for luck, right? So much of my life is about luck. When an opportunity was available, I had pre-prepared for any number of opportunities. This is the one that happened to pop up. So anyways, there you go. Maybe that's hopeful. Maybe it's hopeful. In these dark, dark times, that, to be clear, are not dark. Again, the Trump administration wants you to know that the American people may have to go through difficult economic times in order to get to our much better economic future. But to be clear, we're not going through bad economic times. Oh, Lordy. Oh, Anyways, 1984 wasn't supposed to be an instruction manual. So what do you think about this? What do you think about 148,000 tech jobs already gone in the tech sector? What do you think about that compared to 250,000 some odd last year? And the year before, I do believe, was around 250 plus thousand. What do you think about that? Does that make you feel comfortable? Are you still passionate about technology? Put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes and you want them on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, there's a link in the doobly-doo. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. And with that, see y'all later.